In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we added over 7 figures of revenue to a company called Kitchen Makeovers through digital marketing. So, just to give you a little bit of background on me, I started in digital marketing about 10 years ago. I started an online learning business with the guy behind designing Slack, and I kind of learned from the big players in the digital space of what they were doing with their digital marketing. And now I am the founder of a digital marketing agency, Method Marketing, and Contractor Growth Accelerator, which is more of a contractor focused marketing agency. And we've been doing this for about 10 years, helping local service businesses grow. So, just to give you a little bit of background for this case study on kitchen makeovers, basically what happened was the problem that happened with this business was that they were doing great, they were crushing it, and then COVID hit, and it just kind of sent their leads off a cliff, right? So they were very reliant off of home shows, and they were absolutely crushing home shows, doing great service at a great business. But the problem was when COVID hit, their leads like dramatically dropped, right? And so I remember I think they had to potentially lay people off if they didn't get their leads up, and it was a really really tough spot for them. And so they came to us and they said, "Hey, we really got to get this digital marketing thing figured out because we can't do these home shows anymore, right?" And so there was a lot of kind of pressure, and I could tell they were stressed out. We really got to figure this thing out. And so what we did is we did really a deep dive analysis on their business to see what was going on first, which is how we always start with any business. And what we found was is there was no proper tracking setup, which is a major issue with a lot of local businesses. Is they don't have proper call tracking setup or form fill tracking setup. And so they didn't know what the ROI is on the digital marketing that they're doing. So they're doing some digital marketing on Google Ads and some Facebook, I believe, but not a lot. And they didn't know if it was working or if it wasn't working. And this is very common. So the first thing we did was say, hey, look, we have to install proper call tracking. So we immediately put call tracking on the website and all their information, their Google My Business listing, so we could see exactly what was happening with these Google ads. Like, were they actually generating leads? Were they generating sales? Like, what was the ROI, right? So then once we figured out what was it was kind of working, it was like getting some leads and whatever. But the issue too here I want to mention is that a lot of companies like them, um, they make the mistake of, and this is super common, of tracking their leads and ROI through simply asking the customer where they heard about us. And the problem with this is that it's very inaccurate, because if you ask a customer like where did they hear about you, they'll often say, well, social media, and then it's just too general. It's like, was it paid ads or was it organic ads? Which platform? It's very inaccurate. Or if they say they found you on Google, was it SEO? Was it organic? Was it paid? Was it right? So we really don't want to rely off that. We want to have the proper tracking set up in place, which is provides a solid foundation to understanding your numbers better. So once all of that was set up, we could really start figuring out like, okay, well, what's working and what's not. And what we found was there was the Google ads were generating some leads, but the cost per lead was quite high. And so we went in and found that the keywords were a little bit too general, right? So instead of having very specific keywords, they had more general keywords around, and so their kitchen, they do kitchen cabinet refinishing, right? And so instead of having those very specific keywords, they had a lot of general keywords as well that were just kind of around kitchen, renovations and things. And we wanted to be very, very specific and target high intent to purchase keywords. So like kitchen cabinet refinishing in Vancouver, kitchen cabinet refacing, like all these very hyper high intent to purchase keywords. So we revamped the keyword list. We got the call tracking in place. So we knew what was going on. And then we increased the spend slightly. And what we found is that we were acquiring customers and getting jobs for around $300. So they were getting quite large jobs coming in at $8,000, $10,000, or even over $10,000, and it was only costing them $300 to acquire those jobs. So that's great, right? That's a really good ROI. The Google ads were crushing it, and so what we did is we just gradually increased that spend up and up and up to maintain that target acquisition cost of around $300. And we maxed out that area, that geographic area of Vancouver, and they, started generating large sums, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 a month from this. And now, I think the last month I checked, they were doing over $200,000 a month from digital marketing alone. So that is including some of the other channels we added after. So then, so once we maxed out on Google, we went and started looking at their Facebook, and we found that Facebook wasn't actually getting any leads at all. And so we managed to do some tweaks to that with the targeting and the creative. And now they were generating leads and sales from Facebook as well. And then they had this really clear picture of the numbers, right, of what's going in and what's coming out, which allowed them to scale. And then we started working on their SEO. So we got them ranked very high in Google for some very competitive keywords like kitchen renovation in Vancouver, which also added, now they're doing roughly 40% of their sales from organic SEO. So after doing all this, now they're generating well over 7 figures. Like I said, I think the last month I checked was over 200,000 a month from just digital marketing alone. So they're in a much better position. So now that we've got all this stuff up and going, they're not reliant on one source. So their business isn't kind of sitting on one pillar anymore. They have a number of sources of leads. They grew dramatically in revenue. They know that they're getting a return on their investment for their money. And so they have all these other opportunities. They're not just relying on trade shows. And I believe they're looking at expanding. I don't know if they're doing this yet. So, but I think they're entertaining the idea of expanding their business as well to other locations. So that's kind of how we got them from A to B. And I'm very confident that this same strategy that we used on them, we've used on dozens of other businesses and helped them add a ton of revenue and stability to their business so that they can scale and feel comfortable with the numbers they're investing into their marketing. So if that's something you are looking to do, is to kind of like stabilize, get more leads, know your numbers better with your ROI, get ranked in Google, have better brand exposure, then please do reach out to us. You can reach me at one of my 2 marketing agencies, either methodmarketing.co for our more general marketing agency, or if you're a contractor or home service business, we have an agency more focused around that, and that's growwithcga.com. So that's Contractor Growth Accelerator, and the website for that is growwithcga.com. Thanks so much for listening.